Hey everybody, Tim here again. Thought I'd give you an update on what's going on with the Henry J and the Mustang. Not probably going to be a real long video today, but there's something here, a tip I wanted to share in regards to these fiberglass bodies on how to mount parts and pieces to them, which to me is pretty important because most people don't realize this. So I'm going to show you what's going on here. Here we go. Bodies on the car, mounts are made. I think I'd shown that. I'm to the point now, I'm hanging the front end. The margins are tight yet on the doors won't open. On this type of vehicle, where you're doing a race car, typically this gap here between the door and the fender has to be a little bit wider. So when you're opening and closing the doors on the race car, that the paint don't chip in this area, because I'm going to show you quick. Like with this 3/16 door gap here, the door touches the fender by just a little bit. So typically this gap here has to be wider on a race car, and you'll see most guys this type of car riding back through the pits with the doors open, and what happens is it ends up chipping the paint up in this area because the door flops up and down. So this margin has to be wider than everything else. This one on the top you can set at 3/16, but this one here's got to be wider just to get the doors to clear. So up on the front, show you a little bit of my brace, similar to the other car. I've put a piece of 2.5 inch by 12 inch sheet metal, 18 gauge sheet metal up in the top of the hood there, and then these 3/4 inch bars here go up and weld into that. And I use like a Heim and a tube adapter, 3/8 Heim tube adapter in the bottom, so we can do some fine tuning later on if we have to, as far as raising and lowering the front end to get the margins right. So, and then I'm currently putting the X brace in the front to keep it from flopping side to side. That's 1/4 inch tubing. Back here in the back, you'll notice I got a bolt in here. And that's just temporary to hold the front end where I want it so I can get everything mounted. I will convert that into a Zeus fastener later, but what I wanted to show you is how I fastened this piece to this piece. Can't weld the tab on there, so there's a couple options I wanted to show you, and here goes. I'll show you in the back first on the deck lid because it's off and it's done. What I typically do is I take a lightweight Zeus tab, and these are number 5s because that's what they supplied me. Uses a number 5 fastener instead of a number 6. But what I do, and I'll show you on this one here too, I take a piece of flat stock. This isn't for this car, but it's one I built for something else. I cut it and I'll drill holes in it to put a number 832 screw in it, and then I tack weld the Zeus fastener to that tab. I mean, you can see how I've done this one. It's spaced a little bit differently. This other one's something I built for something special. I've not mounted it yet, but typically I try to leave room for the screw heads. You know, as you can see there, weld that tab on, and then I set the top of this down from here the distance of the thickness of the deck lid. Okay, space them where I want them. Try to keep everything equidistant, you know, try to keep them spaced the same, and put fasteners where I need them. This one here needed 6 of them to try to get this part of the deck lid stiffened up some. Some of the deck lids don't. This is pretty thin. It's designed to have a inner piece in it, so it's a fairly thin piece, but being it's a drag car, it won't hurt nothing. I mean, you can see I've got the holes drilled in there. Typically what I do when I'm measuring these is I'll take that deck lid and I'll tape it to the car and try to get my margins around the deck lid as equal as I can. And I draw a center line. If you can see here, I draw a center line where the Zeus hole is, and I measure this distance. Okay, then I put the deck lid on, tape it in place, and I'll measure from this edge down, take a little square, make a line there, and that's where my Zeus fastener will go in the deck lid. And then I'll drill them out with a step drill, and I don't get them all the way out. I drill them out to where the Zeus fastener, like the bottom of the fastener, there you go, will just start in that hole. And then what I do is I'll use a round, I've got a round stone that I use in my cordless drill, and I'll go in there and I'll chamfer them holes with that stone. That way I'm not chipping all the gel coat out of the fiberglass till they fit. So, and there's different lengths on Zeus fasteners, as you can see here too. I relieved underneath there to get the fastener to clear, knock part of that lip off of there. On some of my cars I'll cut that lip all the way off when I'm building them, just like if I'm trying to build an ultralight car, I'll cut that off just to knock the half a pound of weight off the car. So, and like I was saying up front, that bolt's just through one of those Zeus holes to temporarily hold this in place, because we had to put a lot, if you can see in here, I got some stuff going on, and we had to heat it up with a heat gun to try to get it to come around a little bit better to lay down. So what you're looking for, you're trying to get this as right as you can, and then you're trying to get your body lines. As you can see, this one's a little bit high, but there's really nothing I can do with it. The front end won't go down any farther, so I don't know how to get, I have to get more heat in here to try to drop this down, but I can't seem to get it hot enough without burning the whole front end off of it. So on the other side, I'm going to show you that quick, what I have to do over here, and it's no big deal because it's fiberglass. Of course I got to loosen these margins up, but this one here misses by a bunch. And I know I got all that right up there. As you can see, that actually needs to be pulled up a little bit. What I'm going to have to do is take this fender, cut the bottom of it off and drop it down, and then re-fiberglass it so we can get that line right. Not a big deal. I'll probably show a video on that as well, but I wanted you guys to see those little fasteners that I do to hold all this stuff together. I mean, you can't really see, but I got one down in there, and then there's two more spaced equally in the front. Then on the inside, I'm going to show you that too. A lot of this stuff wants to move around when you build it. So what I did on this car is I put a little tubing brace, I think you can see it right there, just to help hold that fender out so it doesn't suck in. Like when the sun hits it, it'll want to move. So I put a little tubing brace there, and then I'll put down in this corner down here, I'll put a Zeus tab down there once I get done to hold the bottom of the fender in. So that's what I got going on, this fiberglass stuff. And I'll show you Jerry's car, where I'm at with it. Jerry's car, we got the upper hoop in it, the A-pillar bars. I mean, they look like they're back a distance, but that's what I had to do to get them to hit on the upper hoop where I wanted them. I try to set these so that when you're setting in the car, like if you look here, you're not having to look at the bar too when you're setting in the car at the Christmas tree. I do that. Like that one will be the same way when you're sitting in that driver's seat over here and you're looking at that up through that way, that bar's not in your way, and it doesn't restrict entry to the car very much. So, but on these, if you see, I had to bend it down to get around the dash to get into the firewall bar. You got to keep that up enough where you can get the bell housing and everything to clear. So instead of cutting holes in the dash, I just put a bend in that A-pillar bar. And then what I'll do is it'll have, like, the door bar will come from up here to down here, and then the X will come up, and I'll run the X up into this point here to help tighten all that stuff up some. But as you can see, platform's all welded, main hoop's in place. I have the back brace cut, it's down here, but I don't put that in until I get the X in. I'll put an 1¼ inch X that'll go from the up there in that corner down to the top of the frame rail there on each side to help hold the roll cage up. You know, just get some triangulation back there and hold the main hoop up in case of an accident. God forbid, we don't want none of them. So my next project will be to weld this all together. As you can see, I got the front frame supports in it and everything. They're in. I got the diagonal bracing to put in and the door bars to fit. But what I've done here is I've built the basic structure of the car, the outline of the car. So now I can take the body off and I will completely finish weld this chassis. I won't mount anything else on it until this is all completely welded. Once that's done, I'll set it right back on the jig, body mounted, and then I can finish the car up. And probably what I'll do is, like, some of this stuff, like the seats and steering, all that stuff, I can put in this thing with the body off. So that may be where I end up with this one, is I'll get, you know, the fuel cell mounted and the batteries and seats and steering and all that stuff done before I even set the body back on the car. So we'll see where all that goes. I can take some of this temporary bracing out. And oh, one other thing I wanted to show you too is the body mounts, how I do these. It's not real difficult, but I use a tab like on the back. I use a gusseted tab. You can see it right there. What I do is I fit that to the tube, and then I mark where the hole goes, and I TIG weld the 3/8 coarse threaded nut into the rocker, and then I bolt that tab on, and then I'll temporarily weld it to the hoop support. So that's what I've done in the back. You can't see the nut. If you cut, see, with this one here, I'm going to cut a lot more of this rocker portion out of the way so it doesn't catch rocks and knocks a little bit more weight out of it. I could have just stuck the nut on the inside and tack welded it, but I couldn't do that there, so I just TIG welded the nut in the hole. Like I say, bolted it on and then tack welded the tab. I got to dress up my welds there. They look pretty crappy, but I was trying to do it one-handed and one-eyed. So once the body's off, I'll clean them out and redo that mess. So, but in the front, I did it a little different. Makes it a little easier. Similar to some of my other tabs. I use the same tab here, as you can see, but it was where I could get the bolt through the bottom of the rocker. See it there? So I just tack welded the nut on the inside. That made it real simple and real clean. So makes it easy to get the body on and off. And then the back, I'll show you the back. Probably wouldn't hurt too. Back here in the back of the car, what I've done is I used, like, it's just temporary bolt, but I used a bumper bracket mount. This will get a fiberglass bumper on it, so that'll change. But I already had a hole in here and had a stiffener welded on the chassis. So what I did is I made a tab that would just let me use that gusseted part of the body to hold it. This bolt right here is for that temporary fixture holding the back up, which I don't really need anymore. But same thing on this side. The tab ended up a little bit different shape, but it does the same thing, and it helps hold the back end of the body up. Now up here in this filler panel, I'll put something here as well to help hold this to keep it from flopping around. So she's getting there. I thought I'd share all this stuff with you. So what's going on? The 50 Chevy's back too, by the way. Ronnie's going to start doing some rust repair in the rear dog legs. But this car went up to Jordan Wilhelm and he wired it for me. His dad helped him. Of course, his dad polished up the chrome on the stainless on the car. And, I mean, he did an excellent job wiring it. It is just absolutely gorgeous. A lot younger man than me, a lot more flexible than me, and he did a great job. You know, you get my age, it gets a little harder to lay underneath the dashboard, but what he's done, I mean, I'll show you this here. He's, you know, put terminal strips front and rear. Every wire is labeled to where it goes. He's put everything in nylon sheathing. It's just pretty as all get out. I've got several friends that do this, very close friends that do wiring for me, but we're all 65 plus, so getting underneath the dashboard and being flexible is a little rough. So I what I do is like I say, Jordan did this one for me. He's a young man. I think Jordan told me the other day it's going to be 24 this week. So as you all well know, if you're getting up in age, it gets a little bit tough to get underneath the dashboard, but he took care of all this for me and he did an incredible job. So a lot of this kind of stuff, the harder stuff, I'll use Barney Barnhart for, but Barney and Penny are going through a tough time right now, and my wife and I are praying for them a lot. We're just, our hearts go out to those two. It's tough to go what they're going through. So God bless them. Thanks everybody for watching. I just wanted to share what was going on. A little bit more progress here shortly. I should have the headlights and everything in this, and the front end tip in. I'll show some more of that stuff, how I put checks on the front end to keep it from flopping over. I'm not a fan of tilt front ends, but on this car you sort of got to do it. So that's what's going on. Jerry's car's going pretty good. Greg's car's going good. Steve's car's going good. I'd like to thank Ronnie and Jordan, his dad, for everything they do to help me out here, help me get past this stuff. As you all know, I'm a one-man band, so I'm like a one-arm paper hanger. But here we are, having fun, trying to get through the weather and get ready for our racing season. So thanks again for watching. I'll share with you soon.